Just you and me, Jesse.
Yep, that's what it looks like.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey Jody, how are you doing?
I'm good. You doing well?
Doing well. I just got 2 contracts accepted today.
Oh, that's a great day.
It's a great day, and I'm still waiting on one response from a listing agent. So keeping my
Nice.
fingers crossed.
We could do a trifecta. That would be great.
Well, it's like I was jokingly complaining the other day that I worked 22 hours over the weekend on what was supposed to be my days off, right?
Right? Yeah.
Um, but I wrote 4 offers, and then I wrote another one on Monday, so I'm okay with
Wow. Yep.
22 hours if I've got the offers.
Well, 2 out of 4 right now is not bad. So, I mean, in today's market,
Yes.
yeah. Jesse, why am I getting feedback?
Someone has more than one device with audio somewhere.
Oh, okay. It's not me. Yeah, well, I listed a little house on Via Principia this morning, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 carport. It's a half garage, half carport thing. And so I'm kind of cringing because I've gotten about 14 texts that people are showing, and I'm cringing of how many offers might come in. It's only 981 square feet, but it's a cute little place, but I can't believe they're going for 180,000. It's just for 900 square feet. But then I look at the West Coast, and at 900 square feet, some of them are going for $1 million. So I guess our market's not that bad.
When I lived in San Diego, we were renting an 800 square foot house with me, my wife, and 3 young boys. So that was nuts.
Wow.
And then we thought about buying, and we started looking at prices, and like, no, I don't have $700,000 to buy the same thing I was living in. It wasn't huge,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mhm.
How
So
much
that's
was
why
rent for something like that?
we were getting a deal, and I was only paying $2,000 a month.
Yikes.
Only.
Yeah.
So it certainly, I get why all these California folks are moving to Arizona.
Yeah. I get it too. But they're sending their smoke our way.
I know it was
Or is
really
it Colorado smoke?
misty.
I don't know which way the wind's blowing today, but I think we're getting California smoke and Colorado smoke. I think it's just hanging over Tucson.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Hey, Teresa.
Hey, Jody.
Are you doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I've got a buyer consultation today at the office at 3:45.
Beautiful.
And I'm all ready. And I have my second listing appointment this coming Thursday. It's for a mini ranch, 40 acres. And so I'm excited about that.
Good.
So business is picking up, and I'm learning and doing, and that's the best way to learn is by doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only way to learn this business. The more you do, the more you learn. I learn something new all the time. After 20 some years, you still learn something new. I got to attend my first court hearing virtually for a seller who had to get court approval to sell the home. And so we talked with the attorney this morning and they gave us the approval, but that was interesting. So
Yeah.
something new.
Yeah.
Hey, Lauren, how are you guys?
We're great. Busy.
Good, good.
So good to see you guys.
Yeah, I think you guys have 2 speakers.
Yeah,
on.
I'm muting them.
Oh, they're
There we
right
go.
next to each other.
Can't both be on.
So doing it though.
Turn your mics on.
Sorry, guys. I need host access for this thing, and I don't have it yet, so I'm waiting for that to be given to me.
Alrighty. So today we're going to learn how to do templates, right? Or was that something else?
Nope, that's today.
All right.
Today is learning how to create your own templates.
Woohoo.
That's in DocuSign, right?
Yes, just in DocuSign.
Got
I've
it.
been making contracts from scratch with no templates, and man, it's a lot more work than
Right.
what I'm used to.
I had to fine tune the wire fraud that I downloaded in DocuSign because it was cutting off my name and agency at the bottom. So, but I was able to do that through my Adobe Acrobat and kind of move everything up just a hair to get everything in.
Hey, Jesse, when we create the template, let's create a, well, whichever one you want to create, but let's look at the purchase contract, or excuse me, the listing agreement. Because in the listing agreement, we need to show people a workaround to create Lisa Sullivan's name in that broker spot. Because Keller Williams Southern Arizona always reverts back to Keller Williams Southern Arizona in the broker spot.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about doing a template for the listing agreement because there's so many things that just change.
Yeah, but I mean, let's just, maybe we can look
I'll
at
touch
that.
on it, but I won't do a template on the listing agreement today.
Yeah, there's too many pieces to that.
Yeah, there are way too many. Just like I won't do a purchase contract, but the same things that will be covered here can be applied to everything else.
Everyone, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now I got my host. So let me go ahead and get this specific screen shared. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is second to the last class of the 5-week rolling series on DocuSign, the compliance in command here. This one is one that everybody asks about in the beginning, but there's a reason why I don't teach it first. We need to be able to navigate this system well. If you don't know where I'm referring to or where to access things, then this has no business being taught first. So, okay, so we are going to create our templates. So today, what I'm going to be using here is a buyer consultation template that I'm going to create, but I'm also going to do a purchase contract as well. Okay, so I kind of got ahead a little bit, but one thing that you're all going to need to do is create for yourselves a test room. Everybody see how I have my DocuSign rooms titled right there? Test room. Right, so this is going to be, you don't want to pull docs for a specific opportunity that you already have going. you want to make sure it's blank, right? And what do I mean by blank?
Not having
Details. You want no details in there. You don't want seller info there. You don't want buyer info there. You want none of that. The only information that you kind of want in there is your name, your information, right? So I'm going to edit this here.
Also, we would do a buyer test room and a seller test room then. Then we put our name
Not
as.
necessarily. It just depends on
No.
the documents that you need to do. But for now, we're just going to be on these consultation docs here.
All right.
Okay. After you're done with your initial batch of docs, then you can go ahead and move your information over to listing agent or whatever for those kind of docs later on. Okay. So the very first step that we're going to need to do, aside from creating a test room, which doesn't require a command opportunity in the back end. It doesn't need it at all. You can go into DocuSign Rooms directly, okay? And to do that, it's realestate.docusign.com. You can navigate right to there. And once you have your test room set up, you'll need to add your docs. So we've gone over this in the previous classes. Someone tell me how to add the docs to this room. Say I didn't have these before, what would I do?
Hit the add button, top right corner.
Hit the add button, okay? Next step,
Go to DocuSign Forms,
okay, perfect.
select your library,
Right here,
open up AAR,
perfect.
shortcut, type buyer to find your buyer docs quickly.
Uh-huh,
Check all buyer docs you want in there, buyer advisory, buyer broker, buyer agency, and wire fraud.
boom, okay, perfect. And then we would go to KW 495 or KW 861 to find our ABA, right? I'll get rid of buyer there. There it shows up, right?
Always remember to hit add at the bottom before you leave one library and go to another.
Exactly. You want to make sure to do that. Perfect, because then it will go to 0 form selected. You don't want that, especially if you're adding stuff. Okay, great. So we reviewed how to add the forms to our room, which is perfect. Now is the cool part. So we're going to start filling in some of the information that is on this on these forms. Okay. So let's start with the ready form or the read form, however you like to call it, the agency form. Okay, so we click in it to open it up, and you can see that we have a couple spaces here to enter in information. So for line number 1, the firm name, we're going to type in Keller Williams, oops, Southern Arizona. Okay. And then you're going to add your name. Teams, you'll do it similarly. So if you're on a team, you're going to need to do something like this and add your team member, because it needs to include not only the team member that's going to be actively working this file, but also the rainmaker that's attached to that as well, right? Or depending on how you want to do it yourselves. That's typically what I've seen so far. So that's the way it'll look for teams. Okay. Now on this form, that's all we can do at this point. All right. So on the ready form, we can only enter in the firm name, the brokerage name, and acting through name, which is your name. All right. So we're going to go ahead and save that. Okay. Now the next piece that has information that we can fill in is going to be over here on the buyer broker agreement. So let's go ahead and open that up. All right. So there are a few places that you can select. What's already showing here is residential for line number 6 on this one, and line number 10 is selected there, right, as set forth by the real estate agency disclosure and election form.
Mm-hmm.
There are other fields, if you so choose to use them, that you can add your information here if it's always the same. I only recommend using a template if you have information that is static all the time. It doesn't change. Okay. All right. I see you. There's Larry's hand right there. All right. So go ahead and move down to line 28 on your buyer broker agreement. And you should be specific on what you're telling your buyers. Right. So 3%. Sales price. Whatever you all use for your termination period, after it's terminated, right? After this whole thing's terminated, how long after that are you still do your cut there? If you have any additional terms, make sure to add them there. So long as, you know, if it specifies something, like if you go right here, and I've seen some people go plus, I don't know, 375 for an example. Right, so that is in addition to the commission. Okay, and then your additional terms can explain line 28 as to what that 375 is.
Just
Okay.
what, and Jody, this might be a question. Why wouldn't you put the 375 up where it says retainer fee for research and stuff?
A retainer fee is, so the retainer fees, it depends on your business model if you choose to use them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, you know, if your business says that you don't do anything for free, not even your consultation, then throw in your retainer fee in there. Okay. If you're one of those agents that like their business like that, where you want to have some money coming your way, regardless of what you do, you can add that there. Or if it's just your model, you can add it there.
Okay.
The retainer fee isn't necessary.
Okay.
It's all dependent on how you want to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So anything static, right? So firm name, that's got to be back in there. So we're going to type in Keller Williams Southern Arizona. Right? And nothing else is static on this one, right? I think we got that covered. So we're going to hit save and close. Okay. The other form that's in here that has a lot of stuff to do is this one. I'm going to kind of go through this, but I'm going to leave it alone after we're all done setting it up. Okay. So there are a lot of things that are not static here, right? Purchase contract consists of a lot of different fields that aren't the same on every single instance that you use it. Can I get an affirmative on that? It's always different,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Every line is different. Every time you work it. Even your title and escrow company,
Mm-hmm.
that can change sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Say your escrow officer is out indefinitely for whatever reason, you need to be able to change that.
And sometimes on the MLS, the seller specifies that we try to use their title, especially if things have already been started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people are using the early bird thing, right, to start their title experience ahead of having a buyer, which is fine. They can do that. It's their prerogative, right? So that will need to be a dynamic field. Everything else is a dynamic field. makes no sense for me to have a template for this stuff. Although you can make it, right? You can. If you know that every single time you're out there representing a buyer, you're going to request a home warranty, and you're going to request that the seller pay for it, then enter that in. But in this market, you know, the fewer things that you have on your contract that the seller has to pay for, the more likely your offer is going to be paid attention to, right? So this might not be something that you want to include, right?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a reason I brought this one up as an example. The only real things that are static is your name, your license number. Where did that number come from? That's not my license number. Your MLS code, your license number, your brokerage address, their MLS code, the office license number. Those are the only things that are static.
Okay.
Even this right here, the agency part, that's dynamic as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because there could be an instance where I have a buyer, but it's Jan's listing. I need to be able to go in there and check both buyer and seller, right? So I don't want any of these.
Right.
And of course, everything after that is going to be dynamic as well. So would you really benefit hugely by making a template around the purchase contract at this point? I see some head shakes, like, no, not really. Not to save me like a few boxes of information that I already know. Can anybody else agree that there might not need to be a template there?
You could make different templates, Jesse,
You can.
depending on what it is, and save one as Jan's usual one. And then, you know, so if I'm doing my 14 lots that I have listed, they're going to basically be the same. So you could just have different templates, right?
You can. Now the other question is how many of them do you want, and how much time are you going to invest in building them all? That's the other question.
2. Only 2.
So, you know, you can do it as this. This is the way I'll leave it for now. I need to add my license number just so I can have that there. One second. I don't have that memorized. It's one of the things I don't have memorized. I can memorize my driver's license number, but I can't memorize my license number for real estate. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So everything else looks pretty good. I think I'll leave that as is. The only static information that I require is already filled. All right. Everything else will stay the same. So I'm going to save and close that. So I got a few fields, right? I got my information and I have my title company information in there as well. So that's something that we can do. Okay, so how to get started with all that stuff. So we have everything filled in that we need to have filled in. Where do we go? What do we do? Great question. The next step is you're going to need to download these forms. Okay. So what I went ahead and did was check the select all button right there. That's why they're all highlighted, just like that. Okay. But on this one, I'm going to wait because my business model doesn't, these are consultation docs for me. The wire fraud, the REIT, the ABA, the buyer broker, the buyer advisory, those are consultation docs. So I don't need to include this one yet. So I will wait. Okay, so this is the way I've set this up for myself. So I'm going to download these docs, only 5 of them. Right, so you click the little download button. Everybody see what that looks like? It's just a little arrow pointing to a line. That's the download button. So we're going to click that. It's going to give you a summary of what docs will be downloaded. All right, so I got my buyer advisory, my buyer broker, my ABA, my REIT form, my wire fraud. So I'm good. Those are what I want. So now it's opening them up in a zip file. Everybody see what happened there? Can everybody see that? When you download multiples, it does it in a zip file.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the back end, whatever the process is, whether it's Windows or Mac that you're using, there's a process to unzip those files from that zip folder. So follow that process, whatever it is specifically to yours. Okay. And I'm gonna So I'm on my back end right here, guys, and I'm making sure everything's in the right place. Okay. Make sure they're labeled appropriately for what they are. Okay. So the funny thing about the way this works is there is some kind of thing happening in the background where you're downloading your docs, where it throws things in a folder, like one doc is thrown in the folder. It's a little weird. Just make sure that you know where to find it and rename your doc appropriately. Okay. So what I'm doing is just relabeling all the docs. Okay. I don't think that needs to be visible at the moment. Okay, so I'm done. I have all my docs labeled up. They're all decompressed, if you will, from your zip form, so they're no longer in the zip folder. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to the upper right corner where your initials or picture will be. You click on that, and we're going to switch to the e-signature. Okay, everybody see that? Okay, so we're switching to e-signature. Okay, so here's what the e-signature should look like. Okay, if yours looks different, then it's probably because you had an instance of DocuSign previously. And if that's the case, you may want to reach out to Heather to help you get that set to where it looks like this. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go to this button here that says templates. Everybody see that? Yep, we got some head nods.
Yep.
All right. We're clicking on templates. The next thing that we're going to do is click on this big old yellow button over here that says new. And then we're going to select create template. All right. So template name, give it something, right? So for me, in this case, these are buyer consultation. Consultation documents. Okay, so that's what I'm going to call that. And now I need to upload the forms. So I have them downloaded locally on my computer, so I'm going to click upload. And I'm going to find it. So it's under downloads. There it is. There's my zip folder there. And here are the 5 docs that I need to add to this. Okay. So then I click open. Everybody see the PDFs showing up right here? All right, so give it a minute.
I have a question. Why would we have to go and have all these documents taken out of DocuSign and then bring them back into DocuSign? Why can't we just work in DocuSign? I just don't know why this step is there.
Within DocuSign. Okay, because there is no one way to save everything within DocuSign rooms at this point.
Yeah, you froze for a second, Jesse, so you might start that over again.
So start what exactly again?
Just her answering her question.
Okay. So within DocuSign, there is no way to save static fields. Every time you load a form to a room, it's blank. Okay. Not until form groups become a thing. They don't exist for us right now. Okay. This is how we're doing that. This is how we're going to have our static fields remain static. Okay. Save us a few extra steps. Okay. In the long run. Okay.
Okay.
You can keep all your forms within DocuSign rooms and work everything from there every time you got something coming through. That's totally up to you. Right? So you can work it from within there.
Okay.
No one is saying that you have to do what I'm showing you right now.
Okay.
It is an option.
All right. So this is kind of a workaround until the groups gets finalized.
Pretty much, or if groups becomes a thing, there's no certainty with that. So this is what we got.
All right.
Okay.
Jesse,
Yes.
so when you saved them to your computer, what format did you save them as?
There is only one way that it comes, and that is a PDF.
So now are these still fillable back in DocuSign rooms without a template? I mean, without a text box?
So all your forms are fillable within DocuSign rooms. Every line is fillable there.
Right.
Once you download it, you
You
have.
bring them back.
So the template is going to be there so that the static fields remain the same, and I think I can better answer your question by me completing what I'm going to do right here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to order these specifically how I want them. So I like it like this. This is just the way I like it. Okay. So I'll leave that there. The next step for me is to then add some signing orders or some roles here. Okay, everybody see that? It by default already has one out there. All right. So role number 1 will be buyer 1. I'm going to leave that blank. Add a recipient. Role number 2 will be buyer number 2. Okay. And if I want to, I can add myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can add myself here as buyer agent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I can leave it just like that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the next step after I have my roles already assigned, I'm going to hit next. So this brings me here. So I think the ABA and entering the dates and such should be the responsibility of the agent, right? So I'm going to change this to the purple option. Everybody see how I did that? These are the recipients. These are the signers that are going to be on this template.
Mm-hmm.
All right, buyer 1, buyer 2, and buyer agent. Okay. So anything that I want done by the agent, which is me, anything that I need myself to do, I'm going to add a text box for me to add right there. Okay.
Okay.
I'm also going to have this template show the name of buyer 1,
Just make sure to
the name of buyer 2.
get the tops off.
All right, just like that. Okay. Now, I know that this part right here isn't going to be fillable for me initially, and that I will need to fill this in eventually. So I can leave this blank. Because if I add a text box here, it's not going to mean anything because it's on the it's on the disclosure side or on the consultation side, right? So I'll just leave that alone. Now I want to set my signatures. So here's buyer 1. So there's a signature box that I'm going to add right there. You can resize it for those of you that like it nice and clean. And I'm going to add a date signed, which is required. Now, with the date signed, I don't recommend putting it here like that, or even like this. I'm saying put it off like this. Okay. because you're going to have the date itself, but then you're also going to have the time in hours, minutes, and seconds. Then it'll also talk about a time zone. So there's a lot more information that succeeds this field here. Okay, so space it out generously as much as you can. All right, so we're going to add buyer 2 to this. All right. And again, just place the box. All right. So everybody paying attention to this little field over here on the right? These little tabs mean that there's an action item required by a specific individual. So what we see here is these will be filled in, signatures there as well, and then there's a field here for the agent to complete. All right, so that's what these little tabs right here denote. All right, let's move on to the buyer advisory. This is a 13-pager, so we're going to go to the last page where I know all the signatures will be. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our signatures. And you'll notice that the signature box actually stays the same size. But when you first resize it, it'll remain that same size throughout the rest of it, which is pretty cool. Date signed, again, be generous with your spacing from the end. You can go over and you can go over other fields and it just ends up looking messy. For the sake of cleanliness and I think in a way professional look, you want to get these lined up just the way you like them. Okay. All right. Next one, we're going to add our names again. So name. And by me adding these fields here, it doesn't require me to fill in anything. You guys notice that? This will be filled in depending on who is in that room that needs that to be filled in, right? So whoever the buyer is, whether it's Bugs Bunny or whoever, right? It'll be populated with the name that I add to the recipient section. All right, so let's add the signature now.
Yeah, this will save us a lot of time.
After it's built, yeah, definitely. It will definitely save some time.
Mhm.
Vanessa had spoke with her.
Excuse me, everybody. I'm going to be muting you as I go through this. So if your mic ends up being live, I'll mute you immediately. Okay. And I'm adding my date signed. Very good. All right. So buyer tenant, the same thing. It's pretty redundant, right? But I'm just adding names. That's all I'm doing. I'm not really doing much outside of that. I mean, outside of that, right? Okay, that's good. I got a couple text boxes here. So if you're having a buyer's consultation and you're discussing how long this period of agency will, or this employment will go, you know, agent, fill in your time. You're gonna need those dates there. Now, that's I'm leaving the required fields for the buyer agent there. Okay. Mm-hmm. That'll be simplest. However, if you don't want to fill this out when you're signing it, you can just fill it in here when you're using it. I'll show you how to use it here in a second and what I mean by that. Of course, before you send this out, you'll have a moment to fill in everything, and I'll show you what needs to be done there. Okay, so I got a couple fields here that I know I'm going to need someone ready, entering in information. So I'm going to set my signatures, right, just like I've been doing. And now I'm going to add a text box here for the street address. Okay. I'm going to extend this a bit to include everything. Now the address doesn't need to be street name, number, stuff like that. And then over here have city, over here have state, and then over here have zip code. It's not required that way. It's all on the same line. But if you want to add separate boxes, you can. Just add them on. Right? Just add it to it. Simple as that. Right, you can resize, as I said, you can resize everything as you need it to be. I don't need that much space for a state. Well, then make it smaller. Okay. All right, so I got that one there, and then I'll need a phone number. So we'll add that there. And then I'll add fax just in case someone has one of those things. This one I'll not make required. I'll just leave that as an optional field. You see how I did that? I just unchecked the required field box. That's it. Made it simple. So now there's one more signature that I need, a couple more signatures that I need to add. So here's buyer 2. Add buyer 2 right there. Right. Date signed. Add that there. Now I can add buyer agent right here. Okay. So there you go. Now I have everything in its place. So this is what it looks like to create the template. It took a little bit of time. What do we have? If I wasn't giving a voiceover and instruction, this would be pretty quick.
Can I ask you and Jody about this property line? Because when we go for a buyer consultation, we have them sign this at the consultation because we don't know what property yet, and usually. And what if we just put something in a template like to be determined or something? Or we can't put that?
Well, I would leave it blank. A lot of people do put TBD, to be determined. But I leave it blank, and then as soon as my buyer identifies the property and we go under contract, then I will create a text box and just type it in, or I will just hand write it in and then resubmit.
Okay. So then they need to re-initial, re-sign
No,
for that? No? Okay, okay.
So that's that. Of course, if you're doing this for your listing stuff, then it'll be populated there with the address that they're listing. Right? Pretty straightforward. Cool. So after I'm done setting everything, and you can review by using the pane on the right, just to see, yep, I got my signatures there. Wire font, looks good. Everything's where it needs to be. Here's the read or ready form, whatever you like to call it. That looks like it's pretty decent there. Right, I'm satisfied with the way that looks. Buyer broker, everything filled out. Nope, we got one more thing here. See this right here? Here's our ready form. We got a couple things here.
Mm-hmm.
Always review. Right, so I'm gonna add these check boxes here on the buyer agent side, but this is how you add your checkbox. Right, I'm gonna click add. That add button produces another one, and I'm going to check both of these boxes because this is what we're doing for buyers. Right?
yeah, and I wouldn't check both boxes typically because I'm gonna make sure that the buyer is in agreement with dual agency. So I would probably just leave them as whether they could check them or not or something.
Well, if you want to do that, then yeah, great. If you're going to print this out, you don't need to add these.
Okay.
If you're going to use them virtually, like we're all, I think a lot of us are doing virtual consultations even still, then you would put these options here.
Right. And 98% of the time, both of those boxes are going to be checked. So you could always redo the form if they're not in agreement.
Yep. That's good. In that case, change it. Change who does it. Who's the recipient? It's going to be, if it's their election, right? They're going to be the one checking the box, letting them know. Make the responsibility lie on them right there. You see how I did that? Over here on recipient.
Yeah.
I don't have to delete these and then come back over here, reselect and redrag. I just come over here to recipient, right? So I select the field, come over to recipient and make sure it's the correct one. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That
So
way
that's
it'll prompt them when they're signing electronically that they have to do something there instead of accidentally leaving it.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it. So I'm going to add this here too. smaller signature just because it's a smaller space. Still counts, everybody, still counts. All right, so I'm going to add that there. Date signed. Okay. All right, now it looks like I'm done.
Yep, seller full name. Or buyer full name there in the bottom right.
Where?
All the way at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Boom. Nice and easy. But you guys see that the names are all messed up? That's okay. We can fix that.
What do you mean?
So it says buyer broker exclusive agreement right here on the right, but it's the REIT. And then the real estate
Oh.
agency, it says that for the buyer broker. So
Oh, yeah.
We'll fix it. Okay, so everything's set. We're happy with this. We're gonna save and close. Right, so I can come in here. You see the date that we did this, so I'm gonna enter this one here. If you need to edit anything here, there's this nifty button here called edit. You can just click on that. And you can rename things, right? So more options, rename document, right? So this one is, that one's the buyer broker. Agreement, right? So that's right now. That's being renamed, and we'll rename this one to real estate agency disclosure. Oh, disclosure and election form. Okay. There, fixed. I'm going to fix my order because this is not in the right order, but now it is. Okay, good. So that's all good. I showed you how to edit the name at least. You can also replace the documents if you need to. If you click on this more options button, there is a replace button there. You can download it if you want to. So if you have a consultation, you know it's going to be in person, you can just download these right from here if you want to. Okay, you can delete it or you can view it. There's a few options here. Okay. And you can set a signing order. It's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to do that. So 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. That's just the way I like it. Okay. Signing order is important. Who can tell me why signing order is important?
If you place yourself at the end, you get to check the form all the way through, but also make sure that you sign it as well.
That's important. Yeah. Give me another example of why signing order could be important.
Doesn't buyer 1 have to sign first before buyer 2?
In some cases, no.
Oh, I thought you'd have, well, I guess it depends if they have the same email.
There you go. That's the thing right there. If they have the same email address, then you definitely want to change the signing order. Okay. But if they have different email addresses, you can have them both set to signing order 1 since they're independent from each other.
If you're in a hurry, you can select everybody as 1 and then everybody can jump in and sign as soon as possible and you're not waiting on another party.
Yep, you can do that too. If you have a transaction coordinator, I'll show you when we actually get to use this. I'll show you here briefly how to use it and how to add a transaction coordinator so they get a copy of what you're doing. Okay. All right, so we're done with that. I'm going to save and close. All right, so how to use it? We already created it. Now, how do we use it? All right, then we're going to navigate back to DocuSign Rooms. Okay, so again, I'm going to click on the picture or where your initials are, and then select Switch to Rooms. And there we are. I'm going to select this fake one here. I'm going to select all these. And I'm going to, so this is a fake thing. I'm going to delete them all. I don't want them. I don't need them. We're going to do something else here. Okay. So say, for example, I'm working on this file and I know that I'm going to have these, I'm having my consultation now. I have them ready to go. We're coming to the point where we need to review these disclosures and stuff like that. And I got to get them out for signature. Okay. I'm not going to add the docs to this. Okay. I'm not going to come here to add. I'm not going to go to DocuSign forms. I'm not going to select forms. I'm not doing any of that. What I'm going to do instead is go to envelopes. Okay, let me get rid of these two. Oh, it's already done. And I'm going to click on new. And I'm going to now select use a template. Okay, everybody see that? What it'll bring up is the templates that I've created within DocuSign. So now I'm going to use the one that's dated today, since that's the one that we just created together. I'm selecting that. And I'm clicking add selected. So now it's adding the template to my envelope. Give it a minute and it'll populate everything there for you. Ta-da! There are all my forms. So now, at this point, you can see that I got my ABA, the buyer advisory, wire fraud. Everything is in the order that I had left it in the template. Okay, which is great. I like that. Now I'm going to add my recipients. So I'm going to click add recipient. I'm not going to select room participants. I'm not going to select email address. I'm selecting pre-tag roles because I've already pre-tagged these roles, right? In the template, I assigned buyer 1, buyer 2, even buyer agent there, right? So I need those to be populated. So I'm clicking this, and buyer 1 will be Bugs Bunny. Buyer 2 will be Lola Rabbit, and buyer's agent is me. So there you go. I've now assigned the roles to specific recipients. Okay. So now I'm hitting add selected. So Cindy, like you said before, we're going to have individuals that use the same email address. So we're going to do that here in this example. And I'm going to set that to, right? I can leave myself as 1, so I can sign this, accepting this employment, or I can reorder them. In this case, I'll go ahead and do that. I'll reorder it. So now we got an order. Pretty cool, right?
So it might be good to note right there that if you put buyer 1 as Bugs Bunny on your template, that you make sure you put their name as buyer 1 here. Because I made that mistake the other day and I just typed in the other name first, and then all the pre-printed stuff and the signatures didn't match.
Yeah, so when you're using your templates, you'll remember I didn't choose anything. I didn't load anything from the details form. I tagged my roles appropriately with generic names, buyer 1, buyer 2. And then when I added the recipient, I selected the specific individual that I wanted in that signature slot. Okay, so make sure you're following how you've designed it as well. But yeah, thank you, Jody. That's a good point to make. Okay, I want my transaction coordinator to get a copy, so I'm going to add a room participant. There she is. She's added, she's selected. She will receive the copy, but she will be number 4 when everything's all done. Okay, so after these 3 signatures take place and it's all done, she'll receive the completed copy with forms that I had created in the template. I'll just leave them as is. Okay, so here's how it looks when we're sending this out. So I'm going to click next. No, I just got a notice here my internet connection is unstable.
Yep.
Wonderful.
You just froze for a couple seconds.
Yeah, unstable internet. It's okay. Okay, So now we're kind of back to where we were when we were creating our templates, except now everything's already in place. Pretty cool, huh? So I can manipulate these even still. So I know today's day, I'm going to go ahead and make this not required, make that read only. And today's date is the 25th, right? So there we go. I just now added the date. What else needs to be done by me, the agent? So I'm going to review everything, as you should before you send anything off for signature. Make sure it's correct. Yeah, that looks good. Wire fraud, everything should still be in place. Right? Boom, just where I left it. I like it. There we go. We'll leave that there for Bugs to fill out. But we've done our service there, and we've explained what Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3 is all about, and why 1 and 3 are important. And if your client is good with understanding what limited representation is, and they agree to that, they can check their selection there. All right. See, guys, I'm not manipulating anything, just some minor fields here for dates. Right? So I'll make that read only. Okay, there's another one. It's required for me to do anyway. Might as well just do it. 2021 and everything else there. So buyer 1 will be tasked with entering in their address, their phone number, on top of signing everything. Pretty cool, right?
Mhm.
So I'm done after this point. I can send this off. Off it goes. And the buyer can fill out everything else.
If you only have one buyer instead of the two,
You don't have to add buyer 2. You can just leave it out.
from our template,
Yep, from when you're adding. So let's go back. So if I only had one buyer instead of the 2, all I would do is just have buyer 1.
oh. And then
Right.
the buyer two would it still flag, like not flag, but,
They wouldn't show up. They're not relevant.
okay,
They're only relevant to the tagged role of buyer 2.
got it. Okay, won't tag it, okay.
Jesse, remind me, when they open DocuSign to sign, if their name is spelled wrong before they go in to sign in DocuSign, do they have an opportunity to correct it?
Do they have an opportunity to correct it?
In
They don't.
DocuSign. I know one signing program allows them, I thought it was DocuSign, it's not?
I don't think it is, because I haven't seen that. I've been playing around with it a lot. It might not be this instance of DocuSign, but do yourself a favor and get your client's name right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And if it requires that, they can just say something needs correction, or even before you even send it out, you should be looking at it anyway to make sure that things are spelled correctly, because what's here is editable, right? Everything here is editable. So whatever I enter in here
Because I was
is what will show up on the form under the full name section. Right, so here, let me show you what I mean by that.
Right,
So
yes.
hitting next.
So Jesse, I was trying to put people's names in correctly into command so that it would come over, but then command DocuSign was taking out their middle initials. I didn't know it was editable.
Yep, it's editable. Right, so you see this button over here that says recipient preview? Oh, to answer your question, Cindy, do you see when I remove buyer 2 from that recipient, there are no longer the fields there?
It like disappears because you didn't assign it.
Yep, that role has not been assigned. So
Yeah, it hasn't been assigned, yeah.
So here's this recipient preview. And this is the way it looks to them when they get it. So the name I said was editable, right? So there it is. I made that edit in the recipient section of the envelope. So it says Bugsby Bunny right there. Right? That's not what's found in the room details. That's not what's found in command. Right? So you have the opportunity before it gets sent out to change it right here. Right? But it's still important for you to make sure that some details are filled. Okay? Because I'm going to go back here. we started this in a room, right? That's where we started this. So it's pulling information from somewhere. So it got Bugs Bunny and the email address from the detail section of the room, right? So if you have it set up for that, make sure that it's correct in the detail section. And if it isn't, you can correct it here as a last minute thing, right? Or you can always go back to the room details and edit it there. Okay. And understand that the details that you enter in, so let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to log into Command real quick. And I'm going to go to an opportunity. Let's see, I'll just do Bugs. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second here, everybody.
Is there a way to make that name field, like Jody was saying, editable when we're setting it up by the client, by buyer 1 or buyer 2?
It is completely editable there.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah. When you're assigning your recipients, it's editable there.
Okay.
Just add them first, and then once you get to this screen, then you can edit the name.
But why won't it pull it over from command? It pulls everything else over like their email.
It pulls their name. It just doesn't pull the middle initial. Yeah, that seems kind of minuscule of a thing there. So here's the information that gets pulled into the opportunity itself. You guys see these 2 name blocks here?
Mm-hmm.
These 2 pieces of information, these 2 cards here, pull this information from the contact card and only this information. Okay. Mm-hmm. So whatever you have as their first and last name, whatever you have as their phone number, whatever you have as their email address, that's what I'll pull. Okay. Look at Lola's. I got nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go to this room. Okay, I'm going to the room and I'm looking at my details and I'm going to the buyer section. Buyer 1 pulled through. It pulled this, it pulled this, and it pulled this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Buyer 1 pulled this because that's all that was, remember? Just the name. There's no phone number, there's no email address. So that's what pulled.
Okay.
Okay. So like I said, for your recipients, this information, right? We know that they're part of the room. They're right here, right? So when I go to add a recipient and I do a pre-type role and I'm like looking, okay, so I want buyer 2 here and I want to make sure that there's a specific recipient in there for me. Oh, look, there's Lola Rabbit. That's from the detail section.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Mara, I guess we're just going to always have to look at the add recipients to the envelope and make sure that the names are fully the way that they want them on their documents.
Well, it's obviously a huge deal to title because they're really upset when things don't.
Absolutely, it's a huge deal. And it, contractually, it needs to be the way they're going to take title. It's a big deal for the lender too. So always look on your pre-qual, because the lender, the way the lender puts it on the pre-qual is the way they want it on the contract. So if you don't think that it's correct, you need to get a hold of the lender and find out if they're redoing something as well.
Yeah, make it. I think it's good practice, guys, to double check what they have on their driver's license. Let me see what's on your. Let me see how you have your name on your driver's license, right? That's usually how it's going to be expected, right? So if their signature box there doesn't have an initial, then that's the way they can expect to sign a title. If it has a signature box there with their initial, then they can expect to write their initial at title. So
right, but it could also be they may be buying it in an LLC or all kinds of different ways. So we just have to find out how the buyer wants it and then double check that with the lender to make sure the lender's okay with it if there is a lender involved. And then as long as those both match, the escrow company will know that it's correct.
Yep. So
And what do we do if it's our initial interview or buyer consultation and we're going to be sitting face to face with them? So we can have it printed out, and then if we notice that, you know, their middle initial is incorrect or something, we can always just sign back in and fix it and then send them electronic form after the fact, right? Even though they sign in front of me and initial that they're changing that or not.
Well, they would just change it on the form they're signing and initial next to the change.
Okay, and then I can just scan that in. I wouldn't have to even do electronic form. Okay,
Right.
Thanks.
So that's how you can create your templates.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Really
It takes
nice.
a little time to set up, but you know, all in all, if you kind of remove the explanation out of some pieces, this might have taken about 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's going to take a little bit of time to get acquainted with the system.
Yeah.
Create that test room within your DocuSign rooms and try things out.
Yeah, just remember that the documents, if there's a new updated document, say the ABA changes, then you need to go and remove that ABA from your template, put the new one in, and add the fields again.
Yep, that's what you'll be responsible for. So these templates are not going to be created by, or this template is obviously something I created, so I can't, there's no way for me to share it with any of you. So I'll be responsible for updating that once we get new updated forms. The forms all will be updated within the library and DocuSign rooms, and I think that's the only place that it will be for us at KWSA. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with DocuSign libraries, the forms libraries. Any ahas, any questions before we sign off?
Jesse, I do have a question. This might be a good one.
Okay.
Occasionally, we all have that client that needs to read every word of the contract before he considers signing it. I don't know if I'm the only one that's lucky enough to get attorneys that have to do that. So I was thinking when you were showing the preview, the client preview button, which I have not used this yet, so you can stop me if I'm asking a dumb question. You had a client preview thing somewhere where I was going to send these documents to my client before I set them up for signature. It would be a really cool thing if when this client is if when he's finished with his preview, if he could go through and read all this junk before he's ready to sign it and click a field that says, okay, I'm ready to sign it, load my signatures, and it would load automatically. Is there anything like that?
Well, it's already built into the signature area. So when you send these out and your clients open them up for signature,
Yeah.
they have the opportunity to review everything before they click start.
Okay, it wasn't like that in Dotloop. It just took them to the fields where they needed to sign. So in this format, he will be able to read every word then, correct?
Oh yeah,
Okay. All right.
every form, like it'll appear page by page as they go through it, right? So it's going to be like this. This will
Okay.
be similar to what they'll see.
All right.
So do you
So
see the
Dan-
start button right here? This actually starts the signature space there.
Okay, so
Okay.
when he clicks that,
Then it'll go right to the signature, but he doesn't have to do that. Yeah? He can
Got it.
review every single page
perfect.
that's
Perfect.
in there,
Perfect.
right? And
Got it.
everything's kosher for him. And he's like, okay, let's start signing. Then he'll click start signing, and it'll
Okay.
take him to the required areas.
That's what I wanted. Thank you, Jesse.
And here, take a look here since we have it there. You see how long that is?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say off center it. Don't plop that date sign right on top of it in alignment, because that would go off the page.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I saw a couple of forms that somebody else had where the timestamp ran off the end of the page because they had moved the box over too far. So you can see, I would think a rule of thumb is to put the date box under the word financial, and that will pretty much put it in the right spot, either financial or that of, or the word or right there. That sounds like, it looks like the good spot, you know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's generally what I'm doing there. So yeah, they can be previewed. This is what they'll see when they get it. What's cool too is you can actually get an idea of what they'll see depending on the different formats that they have, right? So we have desktop, or what it'll see on their computer. This is what it'll look like on their tablet. This is what it'll look like on their phone. Right? And they can be able to, and they'll be able to zoom in and read things if they do it on their phone. But that's not the case for a PC or a computer or app, whatever it is. Pretty
I know
cool.
this. I know this is a really detailed question, but I also noticed while doing some editing that over on the far right side, you actually get a box with different fonts and stuff like that in it.
Yeah.
Is that for? Would that? Can you change? If you change that, does it remain universal?
When you're in your template, it does. When you're editing your template itself, yes, it'll stay that way. If you're just editing it on a client-to-client basis, envelope-to-envelope basis, it won't stay for everything else. Right? So there's a formatting. Here's your text font that you like, whatever size it is, whether you want it bold, italicized, or underlined. It's pretty cool there, but it'll be only on a use by use basis. If you want to do something else in your template, edit it in your template.
Is there a certain font for forms that Keller Williams wants? Because I know they have certain fonts for their logos and things.
No, not for this stuff. This doesn't matter because, I mean, think about it. If you're handwriting it and your handwriting isn't what Keller Williams wants, like what? No one writes the same anyway. So that doesn't matter.
Okay. Now, so you have the recipient preview. That button there is just for you to see what
they'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what they will see. Yeah.
Okay. And then you hit send, and that sends it to them.
Yep.
For signature. Okay.
Once I'm ready to go for signature, I hit send, and off it goes.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, this is really going to be a wonderful time saver.
Yeah. I mean, use it on the forms that are always static. Or if you want to build it out for everything else, go right ahead. That's your prerogative. If you want to do that for the purchase contract, go right ahead. Let me show you a little bit, if you don't mind. I'll get like 3 minutes here. Hopefully if you don't have, hopefully you have 3 minutes. This is what I'm going to try to do here. Okay. I'll just open it again.
I did notice when I went to realestatedocusign.com, it had a box come up and said, you need to certify or something with command. So it was like, and then it didn't pull my information, even though I'm already.
That's the thing that keeps popping up. Every time you see that authorize button pop up in DocuSign, just close it. Don't click authorize again. It's just redundant.
Okay.
It's a weird little thing. They are aware of it, and hopefully that'll be resolved soon.
Okay.
All right, so I'm kind of doing the same thing here, guys. Just give me a second. So templates, I'm going to go new, create template. Right, so I'm going to upload the purchase contract. This one's going to take a while. Just be prepared to spend some time. Right, so I got buyer 1, and then I'll need buyer 2, and that should be the max typically. Or if you have more than 2 people, you can set it up again, and you can just set your signatures where you need to.
Okay.
More than 2 buyers is not typical. I don't want to say that, but it's, it's there. It happens. All right, so this is what it looks like for when you want to do the purchase contract as a template. This part isn't as fun. Okay, so we're going to do the name just like we do on all the other things. There's the name. There's the name. Everything else, guys, is going to be a text box. Text box there, text box there, text box there, there. Everywhere else will be a text box. Can you guys see why I say it's up to you if you want to do that, because it's so fluid? It's too dynamic.
Oh,
It's only one time that you'll be doing it.
Is there a control key, Jesse, that if I need to, hold a control key down and do click, click, click and move that box in 10 different places without drag and drop every time?
I haven't figured out one myself yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Okay. In dot loop, it really sped up the process.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing too. When you're in DocuSign rooms and you want to just type away, if you're going to be typing anyway, might as well just type it from with here in the form, right? And everything's already there. There's already the boxes, right?
Yeah.
So type, tab.
Yeah.
That's much faster.
Well, here's my example. On the bottom line of every page of a purchase contract, you've got 2 initials for the buyers. So if you could like hold down a control key and go to it and click, 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 you can copy it and put it on every bottom of every page within a second and not have to.
You don't need to do that. So if you're using the form and you want to DocuSign it, let's do it. Let me show you what it looks like.
Okay.
Okay. Still use the pre-tag roles. Never deviate from that. That's the rule. Pre-tag roles, whether you're using the form or you're using your template.
Got it. Yep.
So I'm selecting that, and I'm going to make that for, well, forget it. In this case, I'm going to make it for me, right? And I'm adding selected. There's nothing else that I need to do as an agent on this. I don't sign on anything. It's all the buyer, right? So for now, I'm going to go to next. Remember what this little flag meant? Means that there's an action required by this signer, right? So check it out. Boom. Boom.
So it already takes you there.
Boom. Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
It's already
Love
there.
it. Love it.
It's already there. So that's why I don't recommend at this point making a template on the buyer contract, because everything's already set by using the form.
Which means they won't be always missing that last page that they always miss.
Right. It won't let them go forward until they complete everything. Right. So there it is. There it is. Right. That's
Jody.
Because if you was going to make it a template, you would have to have boxes for every single thing that needs to be addressed. And otherwise they couldn't put anything in it.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So the purchase contract being so dynamic as it is, and it's going to be different every single time it's used, I would say use the form portion, because you're typing up everything anyway, and one side or the other, it's going to be all typed up. It just depends on what you want to do. If you want to have those few fields that are static to remain static, then build your template. Fill everything else out like you like to fill it out. You know, it's going to be the same. But I myself am very happy to see that there is that option.
Okay.
I can do that.
So you can do it, I didn't understand. And if you only want to, if you make it a template and the only thing you want to have already filled in is say the agency and the agent and everything else.
It'll just be your information that would remain static, right? Teresa, you froze.
Am I confusing you?
I didn't catch that. It looks like your system froze up there.
Oh, am I back?
Yep, you're back.
If we make a template and so we don't have to put boxes, we just leave everything and the only thing we change is the agent and, you know, being ourselves and the agency. And then if we don't put any text boxes or anything in anywhere else, will it just revert back to this? No? Okay. So if you make a template, you got to make the whole thing template. All right. That would be a pain. Okay.
And you only have to do it once.
Yeah.
Just remember that it's one piece of time, one little set of time that you have to dedicate to creating the template. And then after that, it's just set and go.
Yeah. But the purchase contract would not be worth it, I don't think.
If you create a template out of a purchase contract and you do 2 sellers and you do 2 buyers, but then in that name where you're signing names and stuff, if you click and you're saying that all of them, if there's only 1 buyer and 1 seller, that all of the other boxes will disappear because you clicked out that, you know, that there's no second buyer or something. So wouldn't you want to do a complete purchase contract with 2 people or a total of 4 people, but then the, you know, when you go to, there's that spot where you clicked out the second person.
I think what we're forgetting is that we still have our details section within DocuSign Forms. So you would have your seller's information filled in there. You'd have your seller's name, first name. If there's more than one seller, you have 2 seller slots, right? So fill it in there, because then once you're ready for signature, right? So if I come here to where this was, I don't know, that's the template. Let me go back here. Right, so if I come back here to the details section and I type in the seller's first name there, type in the seller's, the first seller up there, type the second seller down here, that will populate into the purchase contract automatically because we filled it out in the details section. So that's why I'm saying the details section is huge and really important for when we're filling out the purchase contract.
Mm-hmm.
If you, even though you use the details section, okay, let's put this in. If you have a template built out for your purchase contract, it won't pull the information from the detail section into your template.
Because it's blank.
Because it's blank.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that that information still won't show up. What does that mean? Okay, so let's go back.
Because you're pulling it into, you're pulling it from the templates into the new room of the client, and then it's going to connect and pull their information.
So check this out, right? So I'm going to go back to Room Docs. I'm going to add the purchase contract. There it is. Remember our add recipient thing? Oh, this isn't going to work. I have no recipient here. Okay, there it is. So pre-tagged roles. Seller 1, seller 2. If I had a seller filled out in my detail section, I would see their name over here on this side.
Okay.
This information is pulling from the detail section. So that's where you would put the seller name. Seller 2 would be here as well. You get where I'm getting with this? Like you would still pull the same recipient information from your room, but it wouldn't pre-populate the form another way. Okay. So there's a way to do it, definitely. What I recommend is play around with it. Get in there. Make a fake purchase contract. Put yourself as everything on there so you can see exactly what happens. Send it to yourself. Sign some fake signatures on a fake deal.
Then Cheyenne will be calling me going, when does this close? When does this close?
Don't submit anything.
Well, I'll just put her name on it. Give her that $8 million home.
Sure, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
If you want to use Cheyenne as the example, okay, that's on to you, I guess. But yeah, play with this, guys. Familiarize yourself with it. Make it so that you're not sending anything to a client. Practice with yourself. All right, or if you have an accountability partner or a script practice partner, send it to them. Say, hey, I'm trying to get better at you learning this system. Do you think we can work on this together? And start sending each other stuff.
Okay.
Don't submit anything. Delete it after you're done. Right? But experiment. Find out what works best for you. But in my findings, the purchase contract may or may not be the ideal form for a template.
Mm-hmm.
That is up to you. That's not for me to decide for you. Cool. All right, guys. We went pretty significantly over, but I wanted to make sure that you had your answers to your questions there. How does everybody feel? Give me some ahas.
Better.
Good.
Better every day.
I like it.
Yeah. It's going to be a huge time saver, Jesse. Thank you so much for showing us how.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Well, if that's it, I think we're good to go. Go get them this week and continue that success. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.